There are times when your child really wants something, but it's just not possible to give it to them. Your first reaction might be to explain why they can't have it, why it's not a good idea, or why it's not allowed. That's the logical thing to do, right? But let's be honest, how often does that actually work? If your child is upset, trying to reason with them usually doesn't get you very far. Maybe they start crying louder or even cover their ears. It's completely normal for children to react this way when they're feeling emotional. At that moment, they don't want to hear a logical explanation. They just want what they want. Here's a great tool for situations like these. Give your child in their imagination what you can't give them in real life. Let's say your child is crying in the car because they really wanted that candy at the shop, but you didn't buy it. This isn't the best time to start a lecture about how sugar causes tooth decay, is it? Instead, you can join them in a fun fantasy. You could say, "Wouldn't it be amazing if we could eat as much candy as we wanted and never have to worry about our teeth? Imagine if we could have chocolate for breakfast every day. What would you pick? Maybe a stack of chocolate pancakes or a giant bowl of jelly beans." Encourage your child to join in the fun. They might start imagining a world where everything is made of sweets. Maybe the car you're driving is made of marshmallows and the road is paved with candy canes. You could even stop for a snack by nibbling on the bumper or picking up a piece of the road. By turning a moment of disappointment into a playful fantasy, you're not only distracting your child from their upset feelings, but you're also bonding with them through creativity and imagination. And who knows, you might even have a little fun yourself. By the way, please could you give us a thumbs up to this video and subscribe to our channel for more insightful parenting tips. It's completely free and you can always unsubscribe in the future. Emily's story, The Purple Castle. Emily and her family had been living in a small, one-bedroom flat, but with a second child on the way, space was becoming increasingly tight. After much planning, they finally managed to buy their first house. It was a big step, filled with excitement, but also a fair share of anxiety, as the costs had pushed them to their financial limit. One morning, as Emily was driving her 3-year-old daughter, Olivia, to nursery, Olivia suddenly started whining, "I hate the new house." Olivia's reaction wasn't entirely surprising. Young children often struggle with change, and moving to a new home can be particularly challenging. However, in the moment, Emily couldn't help feeling a surge of irritation. She snapped at Olivia to stop whining and began explaining how their old flat was far too small and located in a less desirable area, and how the new house would give Olivia her very own bedroom. As Emily spoke, she glanced over and noticed that Olivia was crying. Realizing that her approach wasn't helping, Emily decided to shift gears. She said gently, "It seems like you really don't like the new house. If you could choose any house you wanted, what would it look like?" Olivia brightened slightly and replied, "Purple." "A purple house?" Emily asked, encouraging the fantasy. "Yes, with purple walls, a purple roof, and a purple bed," Olivia said, her enthusiasm growing. "How about some purple flowers in the garden?" Emily suggested. Olivia giggled and added, "And maybe even a purple tree." The rest of the car ride was spent imagining all the things that could be purple in Olivia's dream house. By the time they arrived at nursery, Olivia's mood had transformed, and she was excited instead of upset. Later, Emily even bought some purple bedding for Olivia's new room, turning a moment of distress into one of joy. Lucy's story, The Never-Ending Playtime. In Lucy's playgroup, a little boy was having difficulty tidying up when playtime ended. Instead of giving the usual clean-up lecture, Lucy tried a different approach. She acknowledged the boy's feelings by saying, "It's hard to stop playing when you're having so much fun, isn't it?" The boy looked up at her, feeling understood. Lucy then added a playful twist, saying, "I wish you had all the time in the world to keep playing, maybe 100 more hours." The boy's eyes lit up and he responded with excitement, "I wish I had 100 million hours to play." With that, he started putting the toys away, his earlier reluctance gone. It was remarkable how quickly his mood shifted with just a little bit of imagination. Hannah's story, The Magical Coin Machine. One day, Hannah's 4-year-old son, James, found a penny at the park and eagerly put it in his pocket. On the way home, he wanted to take it out, but because he was strapped into his car seat, he couldn't reach it. As they drove, James began to get frustrated, crying and struggling to retrieve the coin. In situations like this, a typical response might be to reassure James by saying they could get the penny out once they were home, though this often wouldn't calm him down. Another option could have been to try and retrieve the coin while driving, but that would have been unsafe. Instead, Hannah remembered the concept of giving a wish in fantasy. She said, "That must be so frustrating. You know what I wish? I wish I had a magic button right here on the dashboard." She pointed to a spot on the dashboard. James paused his crying and looked curiously at where his mum was pointing. Hannah continued, "And when I pressed that button, a huge pile of coins would come pouring out from the ceiling. Not just pennies," she added, "but all kinds of coins, even ones from other countries. And they'd all fall right into your lap. What would you buy with all that money?" James's face lit up and he excitedly replied, "A giant teddy bear." "How big? As big as you?" Hannah asked with a smile. "Yeah!" James laughed. By the end of the story, James was so caught up in the fantasy that he forgot all about the penny. What could have been a full-blown meltdown was completely averted, all thanks to a little bit of imagination. Resist the urge to ask questions when a child is upset. When a child is upset, it can be tempting to ask questions like, "Are you sad? Did something make you angry?" Or, "Why are you crying?" While these questions may seem gentle, they can actually feel overwhelming to a distressed child. In those emotional moments, even well-meaning questions can come across like an interrogation. It's important to remember that a young child might not fully understand why they're upset, or they may struggle to put their feelings into words. Imagine how even adults feel when someone asks them to explain their emotions. Sometimes it feels like you're being put on the spot to justify how you feel. And if your explanation doesn't seem good enough, it can make you feel worse. Instead of asking questions, try making simple statements that acknowledge your child's feelings without demanding an explanation. For example, you could say, "You seem sad, something upset you," or even just, "It looks like something happened." These kinds of statements show that you recognize and accept their feelings without needing them to justify or explain. This approach gives your child space to talk if they want to, but also offers comfort if they're not ready or able to express themselves yet. By resisting the urge to question and instead offering understanding through statements, you create a safe space where your child feels supported and understood, whether they choose to talk about their feelings or not. This can help them feel more secure and connected to you during difficult moments. Emma's story, The Morning Struggle. For the past few weeks, Emma noticed that her 6-year-old son, Leo, was cheerful during the car ride to school, but as soon as they arrived, he would sit down on the pavement and refuse to go inside. When she asked him what was wrong, he would simply say, "Nothing." Sometimes he would suddenly jump up and head into the building as soon as one of his friends showed up. Leo wasn't very talkative when he was upset, but Emma really wanted to understand what was going on. One evening after dinner, when Leo was feeling relaxed, she gently said, "I've noticed that you don't seem too happy when we get to school. Something seems to make you not want to go inside." Leo nodded slowly and then explained that if he went in at the same time as the older children, they would tease him, calling him a little boy, and he didn't like that at all. He preferred to wait until they had already gone in, or wait for a friend to walk in with him. Emma hadn't realized how much this was bothering him, and now had more patience in the mornings, understanding why he hesitated at the school entrance. Rachel's story, The Upset Playdate. Rachel's son Ben came into the house red-faced and teary after playing in the garden with the neighbor's children. It was clear that something had upset him. In the past, Rachel might have asked, "What's wrong?" or "What happened?" But she usually got the typical replies, "I don't know," or "Nothing." This time, instead of asking questions, Rachel decided to show Ben that she understood his emotions. She said, "Ben, you look really upset and frustrated." That simple statement opened the floodgates. Ben began to tell her a long, detailed story about how one of the neighbor children had pushed him off the slide, how some unkind words were exchanged, and how things escalated with a stick being waved around. Ben kept talking and talking, and then he looked up at Rachel, clearly waiting for her response. Rachel wasn't sure what to say next, but she realized how important it was that Ben felt heard and understood. Sometimes just being there to listen is all that's needed. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you find our content helpful and informative. Your support helps us create more videos that make parenting and teaching a joy. For more information, visit us at purplebeechildcare.com. Thanks for tuning in, and make sure you enjoy every moment with your children.